What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dorky and 40 channel. So I'm not 100% sure what is going on in the bowels of TBS as far as production, firmware, and stuff like that. But if you search the internets, you'll see that there's people having various problems with things like the TBS Fusion, myself included. That in one of the next videos. More to come about that. So yeah, if you really want to see some heated discussion, you're going to want to subscribe to see the next video about this. And the Tbs Tango 2. I have one of the first Tango 2s that rolled off the line, and I consider myself lucky because it seems like some of the changes that TBS has made, people aren't really having as good as luck as I have with the radio itself. And I know there's a lot of new Crossfire users in general out there, so I'm going to link this video up here that is going to show you what all of those numbers within Crossfire means. I think this is one of the better videos that I have done and that I have seen explain this topic. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I love the radio, I love its size, I love its form, its function, everything else like that. I've had no problems updating the firmware, which, by the way, if you get a new Tango 2, that is one of the very first things you should do. I will put a link to how to do that up here. If you take a look here at the TBS agent, you can see that as of right now, I am running almost the newest firmware. There is one new firmware that is out for the Tango and the Crossfire built into it. Remember, you have to update both of those. And if you've never done this before, you will need to update the SD card packets as well. That is in that video up there that I linked, and that information is available to download on TBS's website. One of the big issues that people have been getting with Crossfire, and I experienced this myself with a receiver that I got, is there seems to be an incompatible firmware version out there that doesn't work correctly. With my old full-size Crossfire, I could just turn on the Tyrannus, which would turn on the Crossfire, plug in the quad, and everything would automatically sense that I needed to update that. Now with your new Tango 2, what you actually have to do is go into the Crossfire Lua and press the bind button in there and put it in bind mode before you plug things in. If not, it'll just sit there and beep forever if you try to force bind, everything else like that. So some people are having an issue with that incompatible firmware. 3.73 actually, if you look at the release notes here, this has the bind issue for Tango 2. You will need this if you're experiencing this issue. I'm not experiencing that issue on all of my current receivers. I know there's one in there that does have a problem, but I'm not going to update it yet because I'm good right now. I don't want to mess around with any more firmwares. Inside the Tango 2, there's also a few things you might want to check on, and if you have one of the newer ones, you're actually going to benefit, I guess, because if you look at these pictures of inside the Tango 2, the SD card that comes with these that has the contents on it was sourced poorly, and some people have issues, so you might have to replace your SD card altogether. In other new versions, they've also added a special hookup feature, which we all know what that is, probably for a JR module of some kind. Not sure how they overlooked that and think that it wasn't that important after 2 years of development, but who am I? And they've also reoriented the battery input connector, so that way if you drop your Tango 2, that won't come unplugged. Even though if you have any of these issues as far as lockups, anything like that, you are going to have to take the Tango apart and you are going to have to unplug the battery to reset it in most cases. There's instructions here on TBS's website on how to take your remote apart and get that done. I have an entire Tango 2 playlist here on my channel that you can check that out and see if some of the questions in there are answered and show you how to do those firmware updates and everything as well. So new firmware, new hardware. The Tango 2 has changed a lot since it came out a few months ago. Same thing with the TBS Fusion. We just all got hardware upgrades for that. There's been some firmwares being pushed. Crossfire just keeps developing and developing. Some of this stuff is good and some of it just has not worked out well at all. I would expect a little bit better from TBS, but again, who am I to say? I am a TBS customer. I purchase all this stuff. I'm not a brand loyalist at all, but they produce really good stuff when it comes to Crossfire, VTXs, everything else like that. So I guess as these new Tango 2s get out into the wild, we'll see if all of these extra additions to these new boards cause any more problems. But again, if you're having any of these issues, please check the various websites, Facebook, stuff like that. A lot of people are experiencing them too, and you'll be able to get some answers faster. We'll see you guys back here in another day or two for another video. So peace.